Good morning, everybody. Lee Brower here. Welcome to this week's edition of Meaningful Monday. I am so grateful to be here. I am so glad to be here. And where are we? We're in the last month of the year. Can you believe it? Now, I'm going to say something that I keep saying I hope I don't say at the end of each year, but I'm going to say, can you believe it's the end of the year already? What I want to say is, can you believe it's the end of can you believe how much we've achieved in just 1 year? I'm working on that. And one of the ways that I work on that is I look at the last year. So I've been researching. It's taken a little bit of a while, but kind of researching all of the challenges, the learning, the wins, the losses, the learnings, let's call them, of last year, and asking myself, how can I make 2024 even better? Now, there's so much insight that comes out of that, but one of my insight is maybe it's not. I've been focused too much on lagging indicators. And maybe I should be focusing on leading indicators. About 1500 BC, the Greek philosopher Heraclitus said, character is destiny. Now, I want you to think about that for just a second. What does it mean? Character is destiny. Theodore Roosevelt said much later, character in the long run is the decisive factor in the life of an individual. So as I say, character is the decisive factor in my life and in your life, but he also said, and of nations alike. So look at what Alexis de Tocqueville said back in 1835. America is great because she is good. But if America ever ceases to be good, America will cease to be great. And I'm saying that from all perspectives right now, anybody you talk to, you'll have to say that there are far too many, let's say, 12-year-olds pushing drugs, 14-year-olds having babies, 16-year-olds killing each other, and people of all ages admitting to lying, cheating, and stealing. Crime and violence up everywhere. Unethical behavior in business, professions, and in government. In other words, we do have a crisis of character all across America. So if character is destiny, then we are lacking in character. And I'm thinking character, based upon what I've just read, is a leading indicator. And so at the end of each year, I start listing the things that I want to achieve. What are the milestones that I want to accomplish over that year? But maybe, just maybe, the most important thing I could be focusing in on is what characteristic or quality do I want to focus on this year that will make me a better person and increase the likelihood that I'll achieve the milestones or achievements that I want to achieve. What is good character? Now, you can go through all the book definitions and everything like that, but I like the shorter definition that we've talked about before. And that is, character is knowing the good, desiring the good, head, heart, and hands doing the good. Aristotle said that virtues are not mere thoughts. They are habits that we acquire by performing virtuous actions. So to build character, then, we must not only do the good, but also desire the good. And we must not only know the good, but also desire the good, and just as importantly, do the good, but over and over until it becomes a habit. You may have heard me talk about the path to progress, the path to development. If you want to improve yourself, it first starts by challenging yourself with a routine. What new routine can I add to my life that will add more character, that will strengthen character in my life? Once you identify that routine, you protect it and you practice it over and over again until it becomes a habit. Now, once it becomes a habit, you have to protect it over and over again. And if you do long enough, it will become a trait. And if you protect that trait long enough, it will actually become a habit. It'll actually become your character. So it goes routine, habit, trait, character. You go back to, you look at the Greeks. They had 4 cardinal virtues, just 4. Wisdom, justice, third one, fortitude, and self-control. Now, certainly there's more than that. There's a lot more than that. My favorite, of course, is gratitude. Cicero said the mother of all virtues is gratitude. It's often described as the secret to a happy life. I love Melody Beattie's quote, because she sums it up good. She says, gratitude unlocks the fullness of life. It turns what we have into enough and more. It turns denial into acceptance, chaos to order, confusion to clarity. It can turn a meal into a feast, a house into a home, and a stranger into a friend. Gosh, what a great quality or characteristic. But I'm choosing, so you know, I mean, if I said pick one quality or characteristic that you want to work on this year. So the one that I'm picking, I'm going to announce it out right now, is self-control. Self-control is the ability to govern ourselves. And you're thinking, Lee, what do you need self-control for? I need self-control primarily to protect myself from distractions. I start the day with good intentions, and then I let distractions come in and affect those. So now I'm going to go back to, how do I develop a routine? So if I sit down in the morning and I write down, there's 3 things I'm going to achieve today. The 3 most important things are, and I write those down. This is developing the routine. And at the nighttime, I check them off. I check to see if I did them or did not do them. And so so if I do that long enough, right, it should become a habit. If I do that habit long enough, it should be a trait. And if I do that long enough, it could be a character by the end of the year. And I will have the self-control that I want to desire. If I have that, what's the likelihood that these milestones and the other things that we want to achieve in 2024 will occur as well? I believe that's the one thing that will give me the greatest chance. So I named it. Dawn, Do, Dusk. Dawn, Do, Dusk. Dawn in the morning, make sure I do it right. Do it during the day, get it done. And then at dusk, hold myself accountable. What is your one great quality for next year? What is your one great characteristic that you're going to be willing to focus in on? Let me know. Let the world know. I let you know. Have a meaningful week. We'll talk next week. Bye-bye.